As it is every single week, today's episode of Lee Summit Town Hall is brought to the people of Lee Summit by Budget Blinds of Lee Summit.
Budget Blinds!
Jason, we've talked about this before. I'm going to say it again. Automation. It's the wave of the future.
All hail our robot shade overlords.
You know, and not only is it cool, automation cool, it might make even you cool, Jason.
No, nothing can make either of us cool. It can be cool stuff we do, but we will not be cool.
But it's also the safer choice for your children, for your pets. And here's a little tidbit. October coming up in just a few weeks, 4 or 6 weeks. It is Window Covering Safety Month.
There we go.
So it's time to think about being safe.
Automate your shades. Get rid of those darn strings. Make your life a little bit easier, a little bit safer, and a little bit more secure.
So if you need some new window coverings for your house, head on out to Budget Blinds of Lee Summit, right in the heart of downtown. Tell them Jason and Nick sent you. Jason, it took a year off, but it's back. Chili Fest is back.
Oh, Chili Fest. I'm so excited. I am literally excited about this. Tell me a little bit about Chili Fest.
Well, first of all, the Link to Lee Summit team, we're taking home some hardware.
We are, and we're going to win.
This is an awesome community event and competition, and the other thing that we love is it is benefiting some good people in town. It's benefiting Coldwater of Lee Summit. So if you love to eat chili, you love to make chili, you love to eat salsa or make salsa, eat wings or make wings, this is the fest for you.
Not only you can come, bring a team. It's a great team building event for your company or your organization. You can cook in 2 different styles of chili, salsa and wings, or if you're more the eating type. And honestly, looking at the both of us, Nick, we are definitely included in the eating type, but we're going to do a little cooking. You can come, you can buy yourself a spoon, you can go around all the booths, sample all the good stuff that they're putting out for the competitions, and have an awesome opportunity. If you want more information, where can we go?
It's real simple. Get on that computer device, that big box in your pocket, your phone. Head to bridgespace.us/chilifest for more information. Help out some people in town and eat some good food. Hello and welcome to this Friday conversation episode of the Lee Summit Town Hall podcast. Very special guest with me today, Shawn Harrel from Summit Tech Academy. Shawn, welcome.
Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
You have been on my list as a prospective guest for a long time now, so thank you for working with the schedule and coming on. We met, was it a year and a half ago, with your students, took part in a film competition in Olathe and brought home some awards. That's when we met, and since then I wanted to pick your brain a little bit more and talk about what you do at Summit Tech Academy. I think it's all about storytelling and helping kids tell stories, which is that's kind of a passion of mine. I love doing it. So let's just start with STA.
Okay.
And what you do there. And I realized as you and I were just talking before I hit record that I don't even really fully understand how the Summit Technology Academy fits into the district, and how students come from the other high schools into yours. So let's just start really quickly, kind of right there, and how the school you are in fits in with the other 3 high schools.
Sure. Summit Technology Academy has been around for 20 years. Started with the engineering class 20 years ago, and then our class, the digital media technology class, came along about 15 years ago. Was founded by Kurt Mosier, a longtime orchestra director in the district. He wanted to create an audio engineering class, kind of sound generation and MIDI keyboards and that type of thing. And 15 years ago, connecting with industry and business partners, they were wise enough to suggest, well, these things are all converging. You would be best served to include audio and video and not just an audio production, because there's sort of a blurred line between audio and video anymore.
As I have learned just in the 2 or 3 years that I've been doing this,
right,
that I quickly saw, hey, I've got to add the cameras.
I can touch a microphone and a camera right here, and that's just a great example. And so that's kind of where our program started. It's been going about 15 years, and it started with 6 kids and 1 computer, and that was half a semester. And then I came along the next year, and we've kind of been going gangbusters since then, and growing, and filling up a wait list every year with students that are interested in this audio video production class. And Summit Tech reaches out to 31 different high schools potentially. I usually end up having about 15 or so in my class. I kind of, once the dust settles, I sort of go down my list and see how many high schools I have.
Are there competitions among the teachers to see who can get the most schools?
I don't know. We should run by that. I mean, I get blown away because kids will come from Odessa, from Holden, from the Midway R1 school district, which I'm not entirely sure I can find it on a map, Harrisonville, that kind of thing. And they make these big sacrifices to come there. In fact, 2 students from Holden last year, their school makes them pay a little part of the tuition to come here. So they had to pay like you would for a competitive sports team or something like that. They had to literally invest in it. And so the Lee Summit district has, kind of roughly speaking, about half of the students are from Lee Summit, and then the remaining students are from potentially 31 different high schools. Students apply to come there for their junior and senior year. For my class, it's a 1-year program. Occasionally a student will come back again. And we do try to cover everything, kind of Swiss Army knife, jack of all trades, audio, video production. We really have more to cover in a year than we should cover, and students come with this diverse set of skills and backgrounds. They're going to come from, maybe they've been in broadcasting for a few years and they want to take it a little bit different level here at Summit Tech, or they're continuing in their advanced broadcasting and they're going to add this to their repertoire. Or maybe they've been in band, orchestra, choir for a few years and they want to kind of dig a little deeper on the music side of things. And in that regard, they have maybe no experience in the video side. So we try to merge all these students together and get them all kind of creating those audio video projects.
Now, if I remember correctly, when I first met you, actually you didn't start out teaching digital media. You actually come from a band and music background.
That's right. My bachelor's degrees in music education, master's in jazz composition, and so a real sharp turn from there into this. And I think, like a lot of visual people, Chad Godfrey down the street with Summit Video is a musician and former music major.
We don't speak
well.
Nicely of him, though.
Well, we'll keep that on the down low. But I feel like a lot of the rhythm and the pacing and the teamwork and all the experience that you get out of music can really apply to any sort of creative field. But yeah, starting in this 13, 14 years ago, and has kind of grown as a passion of mine too, and that's kind of what keeps it fresh and keeps it interesting.
Well, what drew you into it? I mean, you talked a little bit about the music background and how rhythm helps you with editing, and I understand that. But what really what drew you in that because that is quite a switch actually from teaching kids about band and there's a lot that goes into marching band. But I mean, there had to be some pull.
Yeah. Luckily, I spent 13 years doing both. So I would start at Lee Summit West in the morning and do band, music theory, music appreciation, and then I would go to Summit Tech in the afternoon. And it was only full-time. I've been doing it now for the last 2 years. And I still also get to keep sort of one foot in the band world. I do jazz band at Lee Summit West, and I'll help out with the marching band as well. Last year did the pit orchestra, and kind of get to keep involved in that.
Which, speaking of the pit orchestra, if anybody follows you on social media, there's some great.
Oh, that's right.
There's some great posts from you during the theater season. So
go back to 2018 November-ish or something.
Shawn Harrel's a good social follow, guys.
When it comes up, yeah.
So what do you enjoy about, what is it that, I guess, what kind of, do you get the same joy from music that you get when you're working with video or audio mixing? Does that come into play?
You miss some of the interactivity and the relationships that you build in groups and ensembles and rehearsals, and you miss some of that. You get to kind of swap that out for some of the technology and some of the nerding out over things with students that are really passionate about it, who've also selected to be in that class, which it makes a big difference. But I find that teenagers can still be teenagers. Even when they select a class as an elective, they can still find themselves struggling, with motivation and those kind of things, even when they want to be in the class. But I think,
well, and I'm going to say too, you can nerd out over the technology stuff as well.
yeah, and I get into that. I get into that quite a bit, and you do give up some of the long-term building up. You see a kid come in as a freshman in the band program, and they struggle to fit in or hold their instrument and that kind of thing, and you get to see them grow to be a section leader when they're a senior or that kind of thing. So you do miss a little bit of that over there, but it's a trade-off like a lot of things.
You said that you get students for usually 1 year. Sometimes they come back for a senior year, but not often. Are you cramming a lot into that year then? I mean, because like you said, when you in band, you'd get somebody as a freshman and you see them start out and learn even just to hold the instrument. And by the senior, they're hopefully a section leader or something. But now you've got a student for 9 months.
Yeah, and I think it's a lot like what happens in these types of creative fields where you get some equipment and you learn as much as you can, but then you have to produce your content that week, and then you use it, and then you have to refine your decision making, or you tweak your process or your workflow. And that's kind of what we end up doing there. This first week, I told them yesterday that the topics we covered yesterday could have easily been 2 weeks in and of themselves. Things like storyboarding, brainstorming, scripting, that could have easily been a couple of weeks. But we're going to do a real quick project, start to finish. We're going to understand the steps. We're going to work through them, and then we're going to get better at them as we repeat it over longer projects. And then the projects will get better quality and that sort of thing.
That is an important lesson for probably whatever endeavor they have.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah.
I mean, just being able to jump in, figure it out. And I think when we talk and we're sitting in the Bridge Space studio, which is a building full of entrepreneurs and small business owners. And so when a lot of us talk, we talk about how sometimes you just can't be afraid to switch gears. You learn it as you go and you move on. So it's a pretty important lesson to teach a 16-year-old.
Yeah. Comfort zone and get outside it so you can grow. We had that conversation today. Some kids were kind of joking around because they come in high school and they've sort of built these personalities over the course of their high school careers. And I sort of joke with them when we start. I'm like, I don't really, don't tell me anything about you today, tomorrow, the next day. We'll finish this first week. I'm going to let you get your bearings over here, and then we'll start to get to know each other a little bit. I sort of joke like that about them. I ask them, questions about themselves. But what I find, they come into this program and you ask them to tell, hey, tell us about yourself. And they use a lot of words that they've built up who they have been over this last 10, 12 years, as opposed to what could you be? What's your future? And, you've got a chance to break outside your comfort zone. You've got a chance to be something you've got a chance to learn something new. You've got a chance to try something and fail and try it again and learn from your peers and find someone that's really good at something that complements what you do and put that together for a project.
Is there an advantage there that makes that an even stronger thing because you're in a different building? You're actually in a different space than you've been in previously in your high school career?
They're getting outside their comfort zone already just to be there, saying goodbye to their friends, driving over to a new building, getting in a classroom full of people they may or may not know. And that's an interesting dynamic to see that develop, because over years past, you see kids from Lee Summit become friends with kids from Grandview and Lone Jack, and all of a sudden they start coming up with these teams and projects, and they do something and they have a good time with it. They figure out they've got personalities that go together, and then they'll stick together and do things after they graduate. I had some kids making projects after they graduated. Now they've all sort of gone different pathways through their careers and everything. But, one of them's here in Lee Summit, one of them's out in LA, and they're just, it's just interesting to see that develop. And that's part of the fun that you get to see in a program like the Summit Tech Digital Media Program, where these kids will come and they'll just explode after they leave. They'll go to they'll maybe go to a big name college that people know, or they'll maybe go to a community college and they'll start internships. One girl left the program and started working entry-level job for a production company, and then 10 years later is the director of operations and that kind of thing. So it's really kind of fun to see that happen too.
Have you gotten to a point now where as you're going through the semester and the school year, where you kind of know when you're going to watch that light bulb and that click for them?
Yeah. A lot of times I think it takes a little while for some of them. Some of them come in and you get a sense of kind of they have a good idea of who they are and how they're going to develop, and kind of a no holds barred and nothing kind of puts them off, knocks them on their heels and that kind of thing. But some of them, it takes a little bit longer. It takes, second semester towards the end of the year. There's one student that I always talk about who was here. This is many years ago now. His name was R.J. Kelly, and he was a drummer. And he was in my jazz band at Lee Summit West, and couldn't really get him to get into the video production aspect of it, and that's a challenge sometimes. But then he figured out he could take 5 cameras and put them around his drum set, and then take a piece of music that he wrote and play drums with it, and then mix together the 5 videos. And once he figured that out, then he took off, and he's got drum covers on his YouTube channel. And just this past season was on American Idol and played drums on American Idol. So they were in Hawaii, and RJ was back there on the drums playing on American Idol. So
that's got to be fun. That's got to be fun as a teacher to see those moments years later, like, oh, look at that success! Look at where they're at. That's gotta be a little fun. I kind of always remember that, but my uncle would always talk about how when he coached Legion Ball, he had Brian McRae on his team. He's like, I remember that when he was an annoying teenager. Well, I want to ask you a little bit, because you get to take these students out into the community too. You're not just doing projects inside the classroom all the time. I know you've got one you're working on right now. Can you tell us a little bit about how that works and how you're getting them some experience that they might not get anywhere else?
Yeah. We do try our best to collaborate with local businesses that might need something that kind of fits the mold of the type of things we can do. And, for example, Faulkner's Ranch a couple of years ago put together something for them. We've got something on the horizon for the Chamber of Commerce, just to kind of help them out, and they can use our space, and we can get our kids sitting down across the table from a client and asking questions. And I try to make the class so that I'm the client a lot of times, and I'll make them, kind of have those conversations, and I'll sometimes not give them quite enough information, make them follow up and send me an email,
the hard lessons.
Exactly. So that they get a chance to, and I'll tell them that, okay, if you have any questions, follow up with me, because, maybe I wasn't clear, and that's the type of thing that'll happen. So those are a couple that spring to mind.
Is that tough for you? Because I would think your teacher instinct is to always give them all of the information so that they don't fail.
That's been, go back to the band thing. That's been real tough, because when you're a band director, you count to 4, everybody starts together, and then everybody stops together, and that that whole thing falls apart in this type of project-based approach. And you do have to sort of let kids kind of try things out and maybe stumble a little bit and learn a lesson on their own, and give them time to utilize the software, because with this podcast and with the video aspect and everything, it takes time to cut these things together and edit them, and effects and clean them up, and it just takes time. And some students learn right away how to use their time. Other students, I'll kind of watch them and I'll think, this person's they're gonna stumble. They're coming in for a hard landing here, and it's not gonna work out.
I still haven't learned to use my time.
Yeah, well, I get that too, and I explain to them. I give them plenty of scenarios that I've done or things that I've messed up on. One thing that has been really nice too when Summit Tech opened was utilizing the space for district projects. This video that went out at the beginning of the year with 3 of our music students and choir students singing one voice, and that we created in our studio, and I had some of my returning students come back and engineer on the board and help with the multicam shooting, and then ultimately I do some work for the district along those lines and put it together for them. But that was kind of a culmination of student work in this new space, Summit Tech Academy, utilizing this equipment that's kind of state of the art, and it's been a lot of fun.
Tell us a little bit about that project, because just having viewed it, it's really, really neat. I mean, it's a pretty moving piece. How did that kind of come about? What's the story behind it there? And you did bring together students from each of the 3 high schools. And like you said, you had other students come back and help with the behind the scenes as well. Yeah,
and one thing we've always done as a music staff, and several of us over the years, for these beginning of the year meetings, is we'll get together and play some music. And Bob Harvey is a trumpet player that is in this Lee Summit Jazz Orchestra that we might touch on in a few minutes. But we would always play some jazz, or we'd play something before these big meetings kicked off. And so he retired a couple of years ago. And so Matt Ketteman is at Longview Farm Elementary, and he's just a great guy and a guitar player, fun, outgoing, band leader in his own right, and has played here with his wife and other musicians, has played here at Bridge Space for the Wings.
Wings for Water.
Wings for Water, thank you. And other things as well. But we're going to play some music one way or the other. And then our district music coordinator, Amy Krinke, is a vocal teacher, and she had this idea to put this together. And so it was just a natural fit for us to accompany that as staff members. And so, Matt was playing guitar, and David Turtlelow was playing bass. He's a strings teacher in the district who graduated from Lee Summit West as well. Brandon Johnson teaches band at Lee Summit West and played drums, and actually recorded that a day or two after they recorded the rest of it. So put that on there. I played piano, and it was just kind of a nice chance to get together and kind of play that music that did kind of hit on some of these topics that the district is going to be, are good to start the year with, that positive mentality. And, for us, it was just kind of part of what we do. And then same with the girls, the students that sang, it was just like, they're just good. They practiced a few times, they worked it out, and they just crushed it. We did a few takes of it, but ultimately it was one live take, maybe two. I think we tweaked a little bit, and just one part we switched to a different take. And it was probably the band's fault. It's probably the old people's fault in retrospect. But they did a great job, and it was a lot of fun. I hope everybody's seen it, because it's been, as far as Lee Summit goes, it's been out there, I think, and pretty positive for us.
Yeah, I think it was shared by many people, and I mean, there's countless, I think, shares out there and ways for you to see it if you want to look around your social media, or even if you go to the Summit Technology Academy's social networks. Today's episode of Lee Summit Town Hall has been brought to the people by FirstStepForHelp.com.
First Step for Help is a free service to meet the behavioral health needs of this community. We focus on the state of Missouri, but they extend their reach across state lines to include the entire metropolitan area. They're highly trained, master's level clinicians, accept and handle calls from anyone who needs help. Multilingual, always confidential, these conversations are. FirstStepForHelp.com is the 24-hour mental health crisis helpline operated by ComCare, which is a not-for-profit behavioral health management organization that works in collaboration with community behavioral health centers and other providers to continually improve access to affordable, high-quality, and effective behavioral health services.
Their vision is a community where people are efficiently and effectively connected with high-quality behavioral health services, supporting wellness and productivity of all. You can visit ComCare at comcare1.org or firststepforhelp.com. And Jason, just one last thing. Look, this is for not only people who are in crisis themselves or thinking they need help, but if you've got a friend or a loved one you think is in need of help, hit this website. They can help you out. It's firststepforhelp.com. That kind of leads me, because I want to get in a little bit to, you're a teacher, and you're oh, by the way, that's a fee for hitting the table. We've got a jar.
Got that low rumble.
You still get to kind of dig into your own creativity a little bit, whether it's helping produce that film for the back to school events or whatever. So, is that important to you to keep feeding those juices?
Yeah, and our school year started off, it was a perfect point to take that video and say, okay, this is what digital media technology is. It's audio and video together. And it may be like if it's a teeter-totter scale, it may lean a little heavily towards one or the other, but you can't just come in and just say, oh, I'm just audio person. I'm just a video person. The student in my class needs to be able to work their way through all of those different roles. They can sit behind the mixer, they can run the cameras, they can edit. They may even be in front of the camera as a performer, as a writer, as a singer, as a musician, and then they're going to sort of blend together different capacities. And I wouldn't even begin to try to teach without keeping myself doing some of that stuff. And I've shared a lot of things with my students. Friends of mine that we've gotten together, and I've written music for short films, the type of things where kids, you get into it and you're like, you're not getting paid for it, but it's kind of fun, and you're in a friend of a friend, or you just have a good time doing it, and that type of stuff. And I can share those experiences and the workflow and some of the successes. This short film I just did a soundtrack for, just won an award at a Atlanta Film Festival over the weekend, which is kind of cool. And little things like that, being able to share that with them and say, okay, these are real life experiences, and I happen to be in my pie chart of education, or my pie chart of employment is heavily towards education. You know, it's a big most of my employment is education, but I've got these other slivers of things, and that's kind of the way their careers might look when they graduate and get into the creative arts.
Is it usually the music angle that you kind of draw back to when you want to kind of fill your own bucket a little bit, dig in creatively? Is that still your main draw?
I would say it's kind of a yes or no. I've never been the type that thought I would make a career out of that because I like it as a hobby, and I have friends that have made careers out of it or are making careers out of it, and I like it as a hobby. You know, I like to be able to turn it off and on and step towards it and away from it when it feels right. I think if I had to give one thing up, I think I still like editing video and putting it together, because it's a rhythm, and there's always some music that you can add, and there's always that emotion that usually the music contributes to when you're doing audiovisual products.
I have a love-hate relationship with editing.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
It can be.
And some of that might be, most of my background when it comes to editing is from a written standpoint, editing copy. But so I'm still learning a lot about how to do it with today's technology and things. But I understand where you're coming from, but I don't have that love for it yet.
Right. Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
And I'm going to say I probably do things a little bit. Most of my stuff is just cleaning. I'm not doing a lot of layer on layer on layer layer editing, which I'm sure is a pretty lengthy lesson that you give to your students.
And you see students come up with these creative visuals or transitions or cut from one shot to another, and a lot of that stuff is, I'm just like, okay, kudos to you. My creativity is taking chords and harmonies a lot of times. That's when I really can do stuff. And I would say my video side is more, making it look like I haven't edited anything, because that's when you're a good editor, no one notices that you've edited anything. And so that's kind of the idea.
Well, let's shift gears a little bit. We're still going to talk about music and creativity, but last year you decided to wrangle a bunch of teachers from the district together and created the Lee Summit Jazz Orchestra. You put on a performance here at Bridge Space as a charity event, and you guys decided now to make it a thing.
Now we've come full circle. Now Bridge Space is hosting a charity event that will benefit the Jazz Orchestra.
Right.
Which will October 5th is that event.
Which we should note, October 5th is part of Lee Summit Chili Fest, which is back. It's here at Bridge Space. Sponsor alert. They're paying for some advertising. So
for sure.
So go back and listen to the beginning of this episode, and you'll hear more about it.
Excellent. Well, this started when this interesting thing that happens in education is this life cycle of educators, and the beginning teachers, and then the mid-career, and then the old-timers, and that sort of thing. So it takes a different energy to come up with some ideas. Well, all of us have kind of thought, let's play some music, and we have at different times in small groups, and we've gotten together a big group for things here or there. But in Lee Summit, we were at our state music convention, and a young teacher who is at Bernard Campbell Middle School, Christian Pierce, we had just come out of a jazz concert of a group from a different city, we'll say, a larger city, the other metropolitan city in the state, and we're thinking,
we don't say their name in this building.
We're thinking we could do something like that. We could do that, and we look around and we started kind of gathering people in our little circle, and before we got out of that little circle of people at the state music convention, we had already booked a rehearsal, and Summit Tech is a good little space to kind of get in there, and we've already got the drum set and the bass amp, and we got the room, although it's a little tight, to be honest. But I don't have this connection to the band world, so I don't necessarily have a band like my like I used to be able to say, oh, I teach band at Lee Summit West. So I was kind of looking for that outlet as well. So we decided, let's get together and rehearse, and we rehearsed a few times over the summer, a year or two ago, and decided to have a performance. We had it at Lincoln Prep in Kansas City because our lead alto teaches there, And then we talked about it some more and decided, Lee Summit is a community that would probably appreciate having a jazz group. And most of us, half of us easily are teachers in the district or former teachers. And like anything, there's people that can make different gigs and can't. But so we sort of looked around and we're like, let's do something in Lee Summit. And so having been to Bridge Space before, again, your sponsor, but having been in here before, I was like, this would be a great little venue for a Christmas concert. Something with that ties into the holidays. We're all right before we break out for the winter break. We could come in here and do a little something. And so I came in, and Ben was just really receptive, and the ball started rolling, and we came out and had a great time and played a couple tunes that we played in the summer and played a couple more. And, now we're all in band directing mode in the fall. Everybody's band directing, and it's a little bit more challenging. But no, we're going to see if we can get a little combo or a little flavor together for the October gig, and then we're going to do it again in December. And probably try to do something in the spring as well. We'd be open to try to find a venue in downtown Lee Summit, too, that we could fit about as many people as that stage holds, too.
Well, we will work on that.
Yeah.
You did play at the Downtown Days Festival, correct?
That's right, yeah. And which was, again, we got a little break from the super heat, the cloud cover, perfect stage for a big band, and really appreciated the support from the city of Lee Summit for that as well.
Well, and I'm going to say, too, your concert here at Bridge Space last winter. So I got to catch it because I was actually here in the studio recording a couple shows that night.
Yeah, you probably blew a few recordings.
Actually, no. We did a decent job of soundproofing.
Okay.
But it was fun. I was caught. I stepped outside in between, and the really cool thing was you guys kind of broke up off the stage, and so there were a few people playing up on the mezzanine level above, and some had moved into the back, and it made for this really cool experience for those there, that you weren't just sitting watching a normal stage concert. So that was really neat, and it's kind of fun to see different creative styles of bringing the music out to people. I know you raised a lot of good money for Prodeo Youth Center, and you are now. You said that this next gig that you're doing it's a fundraiser to help you guys, but it's to help you because you are forming a nonprofit 501c3 so that you can do other things like what you did last winter and help raise some money for some other local charities.
And we're really at the ground floor, and our experience is in music, so we're bringing that aspect and going to kind of learn how to develop from there. But giving us as teachers an opportunity to do this. And to like you say, do some of those creative things and make some of those decisions, and kind of keep those juices going. And it's really important. And we'll get into teaching. A lot of people get burned out by it because they don't keep their passions going. And particularly music teachers, a lot of times they get into it because they love music, and then 5, 10, 15 years later they haven't picked up their instrument, and then they wonder why they're not as thrilled to go into work and that kind of thing. So it's like like plugging in your phone to recharge it. When we do a gig like that, it gives us that energy to go back, and it gives us that creative spark. It gives us the opportunity to call on things that we saw or did during that, and bring them into our classroom and share them with the students as well.
Well, as we wrap things up, I want to ask you a couple of things. So I know that you keep going back to music, and you love staying up on top of the technology things with your audio and video and your teaching. What else do you go to? Where do you go? Where do your passions take you?
Where do my passions take me? Well, I'm in school right now, so I'm getting my doctorate.
That does not sound fun.
It's instructional design and performance technology, which doesn't make it sound any more fun.
No, that didn't help your case.
The other way, which is through Baker. Like a lot of teachers do, start to kind of explore that end of their career type degree. I'm interested in that because it seems to possibly cross dissolve into other opportines that are not necessarily
nice choice of language there for
exactly.
those listeners that are into what we're talking about.
Video terminology. So I'm doing that, and it's a new class every 7 weeks, and so there's not a lot of free time. I have let my subscription to HBO lapse because I don't want to get caught up in the shows that I want to get caught up in. So I'm kind of like right there for now. You'll hear me occasionally on KCUR on Sundays every once in a while, so I do that as well. And I have an awful lot of Lego at my house. Those are some of my hobbies. If I had to touch on some things,
Can we say greatest toy ever made?
Yeah.
I mean, really, is there a toy better than Lego?
Not to my knowledge.
I mean, it's got everything that you need, right?
Yeah.
You can build, you can be creative, and once you do that, they're great toys to play with.
Yeah.
I mean,
Display. Mine are art.
Yeah.
My wife's ready to get rid of them, but
that's not right. That's not right. No,
So
I actually have a. So when the Royals got good again in 2014, I even built a little miniature K out of our Legos, and it's family knows that doesn't get hurt.
Right. Don't mess with that. Don't be taking pieces off of that for whatever random project the kids need to do.
Right.
Yeah. I got 2 kids in high school too, so we're going to keep super busy. I got a junior and a freshman, and we're chasing them around through all the activities that we're doing and trying to appreciate them while they're here.
I'm not there yet. Ours just started middle school, so I'm not up to the crazy level that you are.
Well, I'm old and wise, I guess.
Well, Shawn, I want to appreciate you coming on. Just thank you for coming out to the show and talking with us a little bit about yourself and what you do and the jazz orchestra. That's all very exciting, and we hope to hear them more and see your orchestra play. And we hope to hear more about your students and that program. I've been very intrigued by the program, and I can't wait to hear more about it.
Yeah, very good. Thanks for having me.
I want to take a moment to talk a little bit about one of our partner podcasts on the Fredcast Network. It is the Shred podcast. Shred has been a sponsor of this program for a while, and they have a pretty special show of their own that they're working on, Jason. This is all about living a healthy lifestyle, hosted by Ryan Waters, owner of the Shred Gym here in Lee Summit, and Aaron Simpson, who is also a gym owner himself.
Yep. Recent episodes talks about supplements, celebrating success stories. They did a mailbag, so they took questions and got that, and they really did harp on the importance of a healthy routine, which is something I think both you and I, Nick, could probably use a little work on.
It's true. And sometimes the host, Ryan Waters, he gets a little preachy. He likes to make sure that people are doing their workouts correctly. So if you want to know how you're supposed to be lifting weights, the form, this is the one to listen to. So
bend at the back, not at the knees, right?
Right.
Okay, absolutely correct. Nailed it.
He is large and very, very muscular.
I know.
He might hurt you.
He's also far away from me.
He's also far away from you right now. So if you are ready to make that change and ready to live a more healthy lifestyle, check out the Shred podcast on any of your favorite podcast apps. You have been listening to Lee Summit Town Hall, a Link to Lee Summit podcast with hosts Nick Parker and Jason Norberry. A proud member of the Fredcast Network, you can subscribe to this podcast on most of your favorite podcast apps and catch us every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for all the news, analysis, and conversations on the Lee Summit community. Connect with us on Facebook at Link to Lee Summit or on Twitter at LS Town Hall.